My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm with the United Public Workers for Action. The reason we're calling this press conference this afternoon is to call for the release of the videotapes on the incident of Carla Ramero. She is a bus driver at the MTA. She was involved in an altercation. She was beaten up. And the MTA managers, San Francisco MTA managers, are refusing to release this videotape. And we have to ask, there are videotapes of police murders, there are videotapes of all kinds of incidents, and the tapes are released. Why is the San Francisco MTA refusing to release the videotape when we think that that's necessary for the public, the information of the public? And we think that there's a record of harassment, of bullying of San Francisco Muni transit workers in San Francisco. Many have been harassed and bullied for making health and safety complaints, OSHA complaints, and this is not an isolated incident. There are many disabled and injured workers at Muni who have been driven off the job by management, have been forced to retire, and we think it's a problem for the public workers. Every public worker in San Francisco, or for that matter in the United States, should have a safe and healthy place to work. That's what we're talking about here in San Francisco with Carla Ramero, because she was denied a health and safety place to work, and now she's being strung out. And that's why we're calling this conference in front of the San Francisco MTA. We're demanding that the MTA Board of Directors release the tape and that she be defended by Muni in this incident. So our next speaker is Francisco Herrera, and Carla Ramero is a resident of his district. He's also running for supervisor.
Good morning, buenos dias. My name is Francisco Herrera. I am candidate for Supervisor District 11. Carla Ramero is a resident of District 11, their Excelsior. I'm very concerned about the health and safety of our 9163 operators in Muni here. It's very important that we as citizens, we as folks who live in the community know that our drivers can feel safe as they're doing their duty, moving us around. We want the tapes released of Carlos Romero's beating or assault, but what we're seeing here is the epitome of a machinery, of a system that is not responding to the general public in many issues. This situation with SF MTA is one of them. We have a dysfunctional system which we need to come in and fix. It's not throwing more money at SF MTA. That's not the solution. There's enough money now. What we need is adequate administration. We need responsible management, and we need respect for SF MTA operators, for the Muni operators, Muni drivers whom we see taking us around. They are the veins of this city, and we need respect and attention for their work. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Workers here at Muni. Our next speaker is Dave Weirden. He's a retired driver. People ask, why aren't there drivers here, more drivers? The drivers have been intimidated and terrorized by this agency. The reason there aren't more drivers out here, they'd like to speak out, they're afraid of being retaliated against. There's a systemic intimidation and terrorism against Muni drivers. That's why they are not here today, even though they support our efforts. So welcome, Dave Weirden.
I want to say that the climate with which a white guy felt entitled to attack Carla Ramero is a climate created by City Hall and SFMTA management. During the Prop G ballot measure several years ago, City Hall, SFMTA management, the public, and the media attacked Muni drivers mercilessly, viciously, full of lies. And one reason they felt entitled to attack the Muni operators is the vast majority of Muni operators are not white. It's a colonial situation here in America where white people and white corporations feel entitled to attack non-white workers and Muni operators. So you might say, oh, doesn't this sound like xenophobia and Donald Trump? I'll tell you who led the attack on us back then. The Democratic Party, Sean Ellsburn, Scott Wiener, the Democratic Mayor, Gavin Newsom, and the darling of the San Francisco establishment, Gabriel Metcalf of Spur. They all felt entitled because the workers were not white to viciously lie and attack us. So that is the climate within which Carla Ramero was attacked by another white citizen. Thanks for your time and attention.
Carla Ramero has been told by the union that she shouldn't speak to the press. What we're saying, though, is that, in fact, the SF San Francisco MTA has a responsibility to the public. This is not just a union issue. It's not just a health and safety issue, which is very important for the public. It's an issue of rights of the public to know what happened. Is Dorian Maxwell. Dorian Maxwell was a driver, a member of TWU 250A, who was having health and safety concerns with the overhead wiring, and he was injured. He was also set up by this agency, and they tried to fire him, and they eventually did fire him. He won a hearing with the labor commissioner ordering him back to work, that he had been fired because of making health and safety complaints, which is illegal. And the agency, the MTA, and Mayor Edley are refusing to rehire Dorian Maxwell.
In 1998, the voters of San Francisco made an error which created this money-taking animal. And they put the power of Muni into the hands of the mayor. And what they were doing here, they were stealing money to fund other city departments, funding dummy lobbyists and things. Back in 2007, I discovered a document where the city had created a lot of dummy lobbyists and dummy departments, and they were funneling money that was supposed to be used for operating costs into these departments, and they were taking this money and putting it in their pockets and buying things. Every odd number year, they raising the fares and ticket prices and things, and every even number of years, they're putting things on the ballot to steal money from the public. Back in 2010, when I discovered that a variation of health and safety issues, which I got injured behind a defective Muni coach. There's a 6-page article in the SF Weekly that was published in June of 2012 about the health and safety issues of the San Francisco Municipal Transit Agency. They get federal monies from the federal government, our tax dollars, to upkeep maintenance on this equipment. What they did was they took the money, deferred maintenance, and put it into the central subway to nowhere. They took part of the driver's trust fund in 2010, $124 million of the driver's trust fund, and they used that money, which the union agreed to it, and they allowed the city to use our trust fund for the initial down payment so they can get the federal money from the federal government to start the central subway. Now, I want to talk about, those are the things that led up to my being fired from here, by me discovering it and going to Cal OSHA, filing health and safety complaints. The main reason they fired me because I discovered a lot of the corruption that they were doing here. And the city of San Francisco has a history of corruption. My termination came from now Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, who was mayor of San Francisco at the time that this activity was going on. The people need to know that they made a mistake by creating this entity here, which is extortion racket. It's a political mafia for the city to extort money from the taxpayers and the federal government. I won my case back in 2012 to come back. They refused to let me back because they know if I run for president of this union, that it will be a different ball game. It will be adequate service for the riding public. There will be safe, reliable service for the public. There will be accountability in this building. There will be less ballot initiatives placed on the ballot to extort money from the citizens and taxpayers. And it's a lot of extortion going on here. So the labor commissioner, I filed a complaint with the labor commissioner. They had a hearing. The labor commissioner, in the middle of the hearing, heard it was enough of retaliation, and he ordered me back to work. And they refused to honor that order. Under the direction of Ed Lee, he's behind them not reinstating me. That's enough for now, but on November 7th, you have to vote no against this ballot initiative to extort money from the public. Because what they're doing with this money is they're subcontracting a lot of the Muni services out to other transit agencies, like BART. BART is looking to expand in San Francisco, which is going to affect the transit operators. It's going to take jobs away from San Franciscans who's already living here, working for San Francisco, who's been here lifetime employed, who was born here and continue to live here through their careers at Muni. It's going to take away jobs.
Can we get your name? Can we get your name?
Dorian Maxwell.
Spell your first name.
D-O-R-I-A-N.
Just really quick, because I think you got something important to say there. You were fired, right?
Yes.
What type of changes do you want to see within this corporation here?
Yes.
Just really quick.
First of all, I want to see that the people that's in charge of the corruption go to jail, and they reimburse the citizens of the city and county of San Francisco all the monies that they extracted from them through extortion. Two, we want more accountability on that MTA board.
We want that videotape.
And we want that videotape released to the public so we can see the truth.
How important is this type of evidence? And get straight to the point, sir. How important is the video evidence? You've seen it yourself.
The importance of the information is to show how the SF MTA do not protect its employees.
My name is George Wright, former professor at Skyline College. What I'd like to do is, very quickly, we've heard a lot of the specifics about what's happening related to the MTA. I'd like to just kind of mention very, very briefly the context that this is operating in. What we're experiencing is the current stage of a 35-year project by the United States political economy, driven by corporations and both the Republican and Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party that's lodged very strongly in San Francisco, to privatize all public services in the city and certainly in the United States. And what this privatized strategy aims to do is to break unions, overcharge to the public, and concentrate and centralize political power within the various institutions that are controlling these structures. Also to farm out public service jobs to business interests, to corporate interests as well. This privatization strategy is part of a much broader strategy that is called neoliberalism, which consists of deregulation of the economy, privatize the system, cut social services, as well as to break unions. And this strategy, this program here being advocated by Dorian and Steve is about exposing this process on the local level in San Francisco and specifically related to the MTA.
Smooth operator. 7 stations throughout the city, making life easy for us. Working day and night through the city. We owe it to them, health and safety. Smooth operator, smooth operator. As I was saying, just to reiterate then, with this wind, we are very concerned for the health and safety of all of our Muni drivers. They're members of our city. We are very concerned that the machinery, that the administration and management be handled in a responsible way. We don't need more money at this point for SF MTA. We need responsible management. We need respect, and we need what needs to be addressed is the condition for workers, the condition for drivers. Thank you very much.
When the motorist confronted her, Ramero says she didn't attack the driver. Instead, Ramero says the driver attacked her. Union officials want Muni to release video footage from the bus that may show who was at fault. A Muni spokesperson said the agency has given the video to police.